one thing, man, when I used to manage public housing, the one thing that everybody knew how to do was get SSI. And everybody knew how to manage to not get evicted, if they just try a little bit harder. It's very difficult to get evicted from public housing. If you got evicted, then it was either drugs or mental illness, or you just didn't care, right? It was any of those things, right? But it's like, let's normalize having a decent life. When everybody know you're not going to be able to get that change, and a lot of that self-love and self-esteem coming from the Gucci belt. Like, you got a Gucci belt, but your gas is off. What did that matter? It's how people perceive you in the street, is what matters. Like, I look great in the street, but my home is a wreck, and we got to get that self-love. People's like, all right, I just want to have a quality of life, and it's a decent quality of life. And so you get the people let's get the people from the brink. The people from the brink that, like, the only way I can eat is committing a crime. We'll get them, we'll help those people. So the only people that's left are the people that want to be out there. And we try to get a couple of them. And then we help people that's, on the re-entry. People come from prison. Like, it's crazy that until last year, you couldn't even really be a realtor. It's very difficult to be a realtor, I'll say, with a felony. Like, a lot of licensing you can't do, a lot of jobs you can't do with a felony, whatever else. And so you got circumstances right now, people getting rich. And my cousin did 10 years for weed. People now getting rich off of marijuana. So teach people these skills. And I think America as a whole is doing terrible, because when you think of America as a machine, right? And everybody in America is a sprocket. You got big sprocket, small sprocket. If you neglect 13% of those sprockets, your machine is going to collapse. So America probably needs to invest in that 13% to make the entire machine run better. So that America cuts off its nose, right its face. They neglect 13% of the population so that everybody else can ignore them. And now your whole machine is collapsing, right? So we just got to get these people stabilized and get some of these gun crimes down. And so we really got to, do this. I kind of went on the tangent a little bit. But
no, that's fine, because what you said, you made an amazing point, right? I remember watching HBO has the documentary on Warren Buffett, right? I forgot what it's called, but in the documentary, he talks about his sisters and how he feels his sisters were smarter than him. But at the time they grew up, women weren't allowed to, like, work in a stock brokerage or do anything like that. They had to work in the house. And he was talking about, like, the neglect of women in the country. But he said that you take half of the population and you just put them over there. He was like, how far behind are we as a country? Because we're taking away like half of our brains and not really investing in them, because they're just supposed to be sitting in, at home in the kitchen. And it kind of goes to the point you were making about, like, some of our disenfranchised people, like, we just throw them over there, and you don't know how far along we could be. We might have a cure for cancer right now. You just never know. Like, when you neglect a certain level of folk, which you're neglecting. And I think that's an excellent point, but that's why you put together the programs that you put together. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring you on here. So going full circle. But first off, before we talk about your programs, I definitely want to give a shout out to your son, because we talked about him a little bit, because I peep you got his brand on. Your son got his own clothing brand.
Appreciate it.
And 9 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
trust fund kid,
which is kind of dope.
Normalizing the face of the trust fund. So, we're not making trust fund kid like a derogatory word anymore. We're not talking about that as we talking about now. We need our kids to have trust fund. And we're
crazy
about
it. What kind of job was done on us where, like, in the hood, you talk about, he a trust fund kid. Like, that was a negative thing. Like, how crazy is that? When you think about the science,
everybody got to work. The connotation is that trust fund kids don't have to work. And so when you have a negative connotation of people who don't have to work for every single thing, right? Because in the hood, you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to work for everything. And so when you have people who don't have to do that, the people from the hood that have to do that, they have a negative connotation for people who don't have to do that. Whereas the rest of the world has that exact opposite thing going on. Where if you work too damn hard, you know, the rest of the world live in a caste system where people that work too hard can't even get certain jobs. Like, oh, you work that hard? Ew. Like, you know what I mean? Seriously. Like,
no, I know you're right. You're right. I'm
like,
with Malik though. We gotta change that whole belief, right? So I just want to give him a shout out because you got his
Hey, listen, the shirts are definitely available on my
his
link.
brand on.
You know, the
We're gonna
shirts
put
are
the link to
available
your
on my
son's
link.
brand. I'm going on 9 years old. The trust fund kid.